Hi there, for today's video we are going to continue reviewing realistic fiction. Remember, realistic fiction is a type of genre. Realistic fiction is stories that are made up but could happen in real life. So we have characters, setting, and events. So whenever you're trying to figure out, okay, is this story a realistic fiction? You pay attention to the characters, setting, and events. Are the characters, the people acting and talking like real people would? Thumbs up if they are. Thumbs down if they're not. If they're not, then it probably isn't a realistic fiction. Are the animals acting like pets or other animals would? If they are, that's a good clue it is a realistic fiction. And then we have setting, which we're going to kind of go over a little bit today with another sort. The setting is a place that could be real in today's world. So if it's in a magical castle that's floating above a waterfall, perhaps, that's probably not real, right? That is fantasy. So the story most likely is not realistic fiction. But if it's at a school or a beach or a park or a house or a birthday party, those are all real settings in today's world. So that is a good clue. It might be a realistic fiction. And then remember, the events could really happen in real life. Is it a birthday party? Is it a day at school? Is it going shopping at a grocery store? Different events that could really happen, okay? Because those events can happen. Characters have problems that real people might have. So perhaps you knock over your water, or maybe you get mud on your clothes, right? Those are things, real problems that could actually happen. And then the problems get resolved, not by magic, but a way a problem really would get resolved in today's world. So if you get mud on your clothes, wash your clothes, or have your parents wash your clothes. If you get, you knock over your drink, go get another one if you can. If you can't, maybe you can go to a water fountain and fill up your cup and get some more water. Okay, so realistic fiction, stories that are made up but could really happen in real life. And remember, genre is a type of writing. We have fiction, biographies, realistic fiction, informational text, fantasy, fables, just different types of writing. So this week, what type of genre are we focusing on? Realistic fiction. Last week we focused on what? Biographies, okay? And then literary text. Remember, literary text is a type of writing that tells a made-up story. So realistic fictions tell a made-up story. Does that mean it is a type of literary text? Yes. Okay, so I just wanted to quickly review realistic fiction with you. Let's go ahead and go to our sort from yesterday. We talked about realistic characters and unrealistic characters. We said a jealous sister, a mean friend, a second grade boy, an old man in a house. Those are all examples of realistic characters, right? Those might be actually real people in today's world. And then unrealistic characters are made up. Green alien, a unicorn, a wizard, a magical leprechaun. Those are all made up, okay? So what I'd like to do today is focus on realistic setting and unrealistic setting. Okay, so realistic setting is a place that you might actually find in today's world, like a school, like your home, like a grocery store, like a park. Unrealistic setting is made up, not real. Okay, so let me go ahead and pause the video and make the screen a little bigger. All right, so same thing as yesterday. If you think it's a realistic setting, thumbs up. If you don't think it's a realistic setting, you think it's unrealistic, thumbs down. Realistic, unrealistic. All right, let's start with this one. An upside down town. So think of Elgin. Think of Elgin the way it is, but it's upside down. Does that seem realistic or unrealistic? I'll give you a moment to think about it. Unrealistic, right? That's not going to happen. Let's grab this one. Happy Elementary School. Think of Nidec. Can there be a happy elementary school? Sure, so give me a thumbs up for realistic. That's a good example of realistic. Let's grab this one. Outer space house. So think of outer space, and there's a house out there. Does that seem realistic or unrealistic? Unrealistic. You're not going to see houses floating out in outer space. Inside the house. So think of a house and inside of a house. So think of characters being inside of a house. Could that actually be in a book? Does that seem real? Realistic or unrealistic? That's an example of realistic. We've read plenty of books. Yesterday's Story, Suki's Kimono. When the sisters were getting ready, they're getting ready inside the house. And Yesterday's Story was a realistic fiction. And underwater world, like in The Little Mermaid, in Story Atlantis. Is that an example of a realistic setting or unrealistic setting? Think of underwater castles and all that stuff. That's unrealistic. That's not going to really happen. We read those kind of settings. We see those kind of settings in fantasy stories, fictional stories. Completely made up, not real at all. Target. Is Target a real place? Realistic setting or unrealistic setting? That's a realistic place. That's actually a store. Target. Okay, right here. A school with no rules, so no rules at all. Does that seem like it could be realistic or unrealistic? I know I read a story not too long ago where the little girl was asked, what would you do if you could be in charge of the school? And she started saying, well, we'd only eat this and we would only wear this color. So no rules. That is unrealistic. We need rules to stay safe, respectful, and responsible. That's unrealistic. Last one. Outside at recess. Could that be a realistic setting or unrealistic setting? That's an example of a realistic setting. We have recess every day unless it's the weather's bad, then we do indoor recess, right? Okay, so the next thing I want to go over is story structure, and this is a review. So story structure, go ahead and say that. Good job. Story structure is how a story is organized. So stories often have a similar structure. Authors organize stories in a way that will entertain readers, right? So remember, realistic fiction, the author's purpose is to entertain you. So let's go ahead and talk about story structure. We have a beginning, middle, and end. In the beginning, the characters sometimes face a problem. See the roller coaster? And then, so beginning of roller coaster, you start off, in the middle of it, the middle is made up of events that happen as the characters try to solve the problem. And then the end tells the resolution or how the characters solve the problem. So all these different things, all these different parts make up a story's plot. Okay? So when you think of story structure, think of the beginning, middle, end, the events, and let's read this right here. This will also help us understand story structure a little better. So, story structure, how a story is organized. Problem. We've gone over problem before. Something in a story that creates a challenge for the characters, something that's not going right for the characters. Now, in realistic fiction, these problems, they're problems that could actually really happen in real life, right? Yes. Okay, then we have events. The events, something that happens in the story. So, in Yesterday's Story, Suki's Kimono, what was the different events happening? Well, started off with Suki wanting to wear a kimono, and then Suki, her sister saying, don't wear that. She goes to school. She gets teased a little bit. Then she tells about her kimono, and then she does a dance that she did with her grandma at a festival, and then all the kids really like her story and like her dancing. So those are the different events that made up the story, right? Resolution. Resolution goes with problem. Resolution. How a story ends or how the problem is solved. So, go over that in a minute. Actually, we'll be going over problem and resolution a little bit more tomorrow. Plot, the problem, events, and resolution that makes up a story's structure. So, yes, in a story you have the different events. That's the beginning, middle, end. The different events that happen through the story. And then you have, sometimes you have a problem. And then you have a way that the problem is resolved, okay? So that's story structure. So in Suki's Kimono, the characters, were the characters behaving and acting like real people? Yes. Was the setting real? Seemed like it could be real in today's world? Yes. Now the different events, something that happens in the story, which I just went over. Were those events something that could really happen in today's world? Yes. Did the story have a beginning, middle, and end? Did. I told you what happened whenever she wanted to wear her kimono. Her sisters were like, no, don't do that. The middle is whenever she gets teased on her way to school and at school. And at the end, she explains why she's wearing the kimono, does a dance, and everyone starts clapping for her. Her problem. Does she have a problem? No, she's proud to wear her kimono, but everyone else is teasing her. And that is a problem, because you shouldn't tease someone for what they're wearing. But then the problem does get resolved whenever she explains why she's wearing it, and she starts dancing and showing everyone how cool her kimono is and how her obi is and her geta, right? All right, well, I hope you enjoyed today's little review over realistic fiction and story structure.